Okay, welcome in. I'm going to be reviewing last week's action, or I guess technically week 11's action from the National Football League. Starting in Philadelphia, as the Eagles played host to the Washington Commanders, I did predict that Philly would win. The final score would be 26-18, as you can see on your screen. So far, I started the week 11 off 1-0. On Sunday, we had an NFC North battle as the Chicago Bears played host to the Green Bay Packers. This was probably one of the craziest finishes I've seen in a long time. And I'm not a Bears fan by any means, but man, oh man, it's hard not to feel bad for them. I'll still never forget the 2018/19 wildcard round when they played the Phillies. They had a chance to get a game winning field goal, and then they had the double doink, and then the Bears were driving down late in the fourth, and all they needed was a field goal to win, and it got blocked by I think the fingertip of the defenseman for Green Bay. So pretty wild finish, and I seen a stat that the Bears are they've lost I think the last 25 of 28 games against the Packers. Like when someone says they own a team, I firmly believe that the Packers definitely own the Bears. I'm sure if Chicago could get out of that division, they would, but unfortunately, because of the landscape and the map, they are pretty much stuck. And they're basically Green Bay's female dog, if that makes any sense. So I did pick Green Bay in this one. So far 2-0. Now this was a wild uh, one-sided affair as the Detroit Lions played host to the Jaguars. I called this the Battle of the Kitties, and the Lions definitely made very light work of the Jaguars. As you can see on your screen, 52-6. They won by 44 points or 46 points. Um, if changes aren't happening soon with the Jaguars, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're already not making the playoffs. They're not technically eliminated, but there's no way they're climbing out of the hole that they're in. And if you're giving up 52 points, what does that say about your defense? And you want to get 6 points, what does that say about your offense? So I mean, if there aren't any changes happening within the season, I guarantee after week 18 there's going to be a whole lot of firing when it comes to the Jacksonville side of things. So far 3-0 with my picks. The Miami Dolphins played host to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders really don't have an identity. I don't know who you can say is their guy under center. Is it O'Connell? I have no idea. I don't think so. But I mean, when I think Raiders from like 3 years ago, Derek Carr was obviously the guy. But since he got released, and now obviously he's in New Orleans, they really haven't had a number one guy. They tried Jimmy G, that didn't work, and yeah, then he left town. And then obviously they brought in Gardner Minshew, the third, if I want to be technically correct, and he's no more than like a backup quarterback at best. He had a really good finish last year in Indy, but yeah, not so good in Vegas. The Dolphins won by 15 points, 34-19. Um, I will go over the records here in just a second. Actually, I might even click on the standings instead of just telling everybody who was where. So far 4-0. The Los Angeles Rams went into New England to take on the Patriots. I did predict that LA would win. It was close. 28-22 would be the final score in favor of LA. So far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0. Speaking of Derek Carr, the New Orleans Saints played host to the Cleveland Browns. I did predict that New Orleans would win only because Cleveland is sucking just as bad, if not worse, than the Saints. But I didn't think the Saints were going to win by 21 points. They did, 35-14. So where was this Saints offense when they went on like their 5 or 6 game losing streak? My God. But no need to panic, Saints fans. I mean, your division's kind of crappy anyway. So I'll get to the standings here with the NFC North and talk about that. This was a really good game. I actually watched this one. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. I did predict that Baltimore would win. They could have, but ultimately they came up 2 points short, 18-16. This is one of those tough, grinding games, and I'll give Pittsburgh their props when it's due. Like their defense definitely showed up. I mean, Lamar obviously had one against Joe Burrow. He was hoping to make it 2 straight division wins. Unfortunately, it did not pan out. And the Steelers are in first place of the AFC North. Who in their right mind would have guessed that Russell Wilson would be leading a team in the division, especially when you have the likes of Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow in that same company. So it's mind blowing. And the Steelers are definitely finishing with an above 500 record now. There's no question about it. The Minnesota Vikings went into Tennessee to take on the Titans. I thought the Vikings would roll all over the Titans. I thought this would be like a 30-10 game, if that, but it was only a 10-point differential, as you can see on your screen. 23-13 would be the final score in favor of the Vikings. So I got that one correct as well. The New York Jets played host to the Indianapolis Colts. I didn't think this was going to be a 1-point game. I didn't think it was going to be a 2 or 3-point game. I thought the Colts would have went into New York. Didn't matter if they were starting Quentin Richardson or Joe Flacco. Whoever, one of those two quarterbacks could have led. Their third string quarterback could have led the Colts to a win. I mean, for God's sakes, the Jets are a joke. I'm not going to go on my usual rampage or rant about the Jets. I've said enough what I have to say that they're trash. So yeah, I did predict the Indy would win. They did, 28-27. Now, my Broncos are finally starting to cook without Russ. 38-6 would be the final score. I didn't think they were going to win by 32 points. I thought the Falcons would have showed up and made it interesting. But Kirk Cousins only managed to get 6 points, and that's not saying a whole lot considering that there was a lot of expectation for this Falcons team to do a lot better than what they have been doing. Now, I think they're still 6-5, so there's really no panic. But I think that's 2 straight losses, if I'm not mistaken. So 2-game losing streak will lead to a 3-game losing streak, and then who knows what can happen after that. So I'm sure unless they have a bye week in week number 13, they definitely want to get a W next week. This is a game I thought was going to go the other way, but ultimately it did not. I did predict that San Fran would win this game. 20-17 would be the final score in favor of the Seahawks. Geno Smith actually ran the ball in, I think with under a minute to go. Ran the ball in for a scoring touchdown. So I'm pretty sure everybody on the defense was thinking he was going to throw the ball. There's no way he's going to run it. But because he had all that open space, I mean, if you have a better chance to run the ball and cross the line rather than throw it, I'd take that all day. So the Seahawks got a tough, gritty win over their NFC West foe, and I will check the standings in here in just a minute. Now, this was a wild one to say the least. The Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs duked it out. I did predict that Buffalo would win only because they had home field advantage and because they're playing a lot better. I'm not going to lie. This is a different Bills team than years past. Yes, in the past 2 or 3 years, they should have been Super Bowl contenders or AFC contenders at least, but every time it seemed like they were running into those pesky Chiefs, and they needed this win, and they got it. So that they ultimately stopped the Chiefs' winning streak. They're no longer perfect on the year, but the thing is, the Chiefs are 9-1, the Bills are 9-2. So technically, the Chiefs are still in first place in the AFC in general. But we'll see by week 18 who has the better record. And ultimately, if the Bills and Chiefs happen to have the same record, after week 18, Buffalo will have home field advantage because they obviously beat the Chiefs here. The Sunday night matchup took place in Los Angeles as the Chargers played, I should say, host to the Cincinnati Bengals. I did predict that LA would win. 34-27 would be the final score. LA's looking strong. I'm pretty sure that was their 7th win already of the season. And as for the Bengals, I'm pretty sure they're 3 games below 500. So it's not technically panic mode yet, but if they go to 4-8, I mean, you'd have to win 5 straight games just to try to get into a wild card spot because let's be honest, there's no way Cincinnati's catching the Steelers or the Ravens in that AFC North. And then Monday matchup took place in Dallas as the Battle of Texas went to Houston. 34-10 would be the final score. Cooper Rush, he played, I think, okay a season ago or 2 seasons ago when Dak went down. He played really well, but he has not been the same since. And realistically, he's a backup quarterback. There's no way this guy could play a full 17-game season under center. So yeah, Houston got the better of Dallas in this one. 34-10, as I previously said. The 4 teams that had their bye week are the surprisingly first place Arizona Cardinals. They are 6-4. The Carolina Panthers are probably a little bummed out because after the win last week, they're probably hoping to build on some momentum, but you never know how your season's going to go before your bye week. The New York Giants are 2-8, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 4-6. So we'll take a look at the standings as of week number 11 in the NFL. So starting in the AFC East, we have the Buffalo Bills. They are in first place. The Miami Dolphins are 4-6. They're in second place. The New York Jets and New England Patriots are 3-8 respectively. So basically tied for third at this moment. The AFC North, as I said, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are in first place of that division with an 8-2 record. The Baltimore Ravens, after the loss, are 7-4, so they're technically 2 games back of the Steelers. This was a very critical game for them. The Cincinnati Bengals are 4-7 in third place, and the Cleveland Browns are 2-8 at the bottom of the AFC North. The AFC South looks like this. The Houston Texans are 7-4 after their win. The Indianapolis Colts are 5-6 after their loss. So they're technically 2 games back of the Texans for first place, and the Tennessee Titans are 2-8, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are 2-9. So Titans and Jaguars, their season's definitely toast. Indy, if they can win next week, and if Houston happens to lose, they can obviously pull within a game of the Texans. But if I had to bet right now, I'd say Houston should have the AFC South crown. And to the AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs are 9-1. They're still in first place. The Chargers are 2 games back of them. They are 7-3. The Broncos are 6-5. And the Las Vegas Raiders are 2-8. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that the Chargers have the 5th seed because they have a game in hand. The Ravens have the 6th seed, I should say, for the wild card. And I'm pretty sure Denver is in the 7th spot as we speak. So if the season stopped right now, Denver would make the playoffs. Now, I'm not going to get too excited because there's still 7 more weeks left of the season. There's still a lot of football to be played, so teams can definitely bounce around when it comes to the standings. But right now, I'll take the W. I'm okay with them being 6-5. Now, off to the NFC. We have the Philadelphia Eagles. They are sitting at 8-2. The Washington Commanders are 7-4, so they're technically 2 games behind the Eagles for first place. And then at the bottom, we have the Dallas Cowboys are 3-7, and the New York Giants are 2-8 respectively. If the Giants happen to win next week and Dallas happens to lose, imagine the Giants go ahead of Dallas in the standings. If Dallas got into last place of the NFC East, I mean, I'm sure it's a very depressing season for a fan as it is, but man, if the Giants happen to bump you in the standings, that just shows how horrible your team is doing this year. NFC North, we have the best team in the league. Well, for the NFC side, I should say, as the Detroit Lions are 9-1. Minnesota Vikings are right on their tail, though they're only trailing the Lions by 1 game, 8-2. The Packers are 7-3. So first and third place are only separated by 2 games. Chicago Bears are in 4th place with a record of 4-6. Now, the NFC South, as I talked a bit with these teams, probably one of the worst divisions, I'm not going to lie, in the NFC side of things at least. The Falcons, despite losing 2 in a row, they're still in first place with a record of 6-5. Tampa Bay is 4-6. New Orleans is 4-7. And the Carolina Panthers are 3-7. So even though the Falcons did lose 2 games in a row, there's really no panic because there's still a game, I think, and a half up on the Buccaneers. But I mean, if they lose next week and the Bucs happen to win, then Tampa Bay could pull within like a game of the Falcons, and Atlanta does not want that. And the last division is the NFC West, and I previously mentioned the Arizona Cardinals are in first place with a record of 6-4. The Los Angeles Rams are 5-5. They've now moved up to second place. Seahawks and 49ers, they are all 5-5. So basically 4 teams in the NFC West have at least 5 wins. So this not saying it's going to happen, but this division is really up for grabs. I mean, even though San Fran's technically in fourth place, they're only a game behind the Cardinals. So if San Fran happens to win next week and say Arizona loses, I think Arizona would still technically be in first place because they beat San Fran earlier in the year. But this is a very tough division to call as to who I think is going to be the favorite. And like I said before, there's still 7 weeks left to go in the season, so there's still plenty of football left. San Fran could jump up to first. LA could drop down to 4th. Like, there's just so many different outcomes that can happen within the next 7 weeks of the National Football League season. Okay, that's going to take care of my recap from week number 11. But before I let you go, I will go over my picks. So I only had 2 wrong, if I'm not mistaken, because I did predict that. Who did I predict? I got it wrong. So I did predict that San Fran would win, and they lost. And then I also predicted that There has to be another team. I know there's another team out here. Detroit, Rams, New Orleans, Baltimore, right. And Pittsburgh won. So I got the Baltimore game and the San Francisco 49ers game wrong. But either way, it's okay. My screen did go dark only because my tablet is dying, so I'll try to make this very quick before my thing shuts off. So coming into week number 11, I had a record of 101 and 51. I would then finish this week with a 12-2 record, if I'm not mistaken. So that would bump me up to 113, and 2 losses would be 53. So heading into week number 12, I have a 113 record, 113 win record, I should say, and a 53 record as well. 53 losses, I should say. So pretty good. As my phone disconnected from the TV, I apologize. So yes, my video will probably be dark at the end, and I do apologize only because the tablet is going dead. So I better charge this bad boy if I want to do any more videos. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, take care.